What that led to were, in some cases, folks running who were taking on, the establishment favorites who won and actually have become really strong members of the United States House and Senate.
I think to boil this down to just insurgent versus establishment overlooks what many of these people are running on. They're simply beyond insurgency here. I mean, you've got people out there winning primaries that want to abolish borders, abolish ICE, abolish prisons, abolish the police, abolish the United States Senate. This is well outside the bounds of normal political discourse.
It sounds like these people want to abolish nearly everything that keeps the American people safe. Border enforcement, ICE, law enforcement, you name it. It's beyond ridiculous. And then you have the lovely lefties over at CNN trying to normalize it all, defending Medicare for all while embracing the increasingly radical voices taking over their party. But Scott Jennings refuses to just sit there quietly, delivering a brutal reality check that the Democrat Party has been hijacked by the far left. Take a look.
American people understand that this country faces enormous crises, and they want change. That is why progressives have been defeating establishment candidates all across the country.
Corbin Trent, co-founder of Brand New Congress, co-director of Justice Democrats, former communications director for AOC, just in case the folks out there aren't sure who you are. I suspect that you have a different view.
I think that, just because you were one of the original supporters of Medicare for All, we've gone a long time trying to get things like that passed. I think, people are looking for results, not just your indications of what what you stand for. They want to see change. And I think that we've gone decades and decades without it, not going in the right direction at least. And I think that's the key.
Republicans went through something like this about 15 years ago.
With the Tea Party.
Rise of the Tea Party movement. Yeah. And what that led to were, in some cases, folks running who were taking on, the establishment favorites who won and actually have become really strong members of the United States House and Senate.
I think to boil this down to just insurgent versus establishment overlooks what many of these people are running on. They're simply beyond insurgency here. I mean, you've got people out there winning primaries that want to abolish borders, abolish ICE, abolish prisons, abolish the police, abolish the United States Senate. This is well outside the bounds of normal political discourse, and it's all happening, in the Democratic Party. I don't think the Democratic Party leadership understands they've already been overwhelmed, and it's just a matter of time before these views become the mainstream platform, and that's what they're going to end up running on in 2028 as well.
I think we do understand. We talk about it all the time in the Democratic caucus. We know we're a big tent caucus, and that we're not all going to agree, but the one thing we agree on, we know we have to win. And that's what we're concentrating on.
To do these things that they're laying out in these.
No,
I know you probably don't agree with.
We cannot go back to business as usual, though. It wasn't perfect under us. We know we need changes. We know we need health care for everyone. We know we need better education. We know we need better housing, and we have to do all those things.
Do we need police? Do we need prisons?
Yes,
do we need border enforcement?
You don't hear most of us saying that. Yes,
and
we need
the
police,
fact is, though,
but not in the same way that ICE is doing it.
I mean, the Tea Party, for example, it came out, it wants to abolish the Department of Education. It wants to abolish.
So did Ronald Reagan.
They want to abolish.
So did Ronald Reagan.
Abolish this, abolish that. Privatize Social Security. Put that in the stock market and see how it does. If it crashes,
would have done great had they done it back in 2005.
Until it doesn't, right? Until it doesn't, which is what happened in the 1930s when people were struggling. And I think that's what we're seeing right now is a moment sort of like we had in the 1930s in America, where people are tired of the way things are going for them, and we're going to see a transformation in the way our politics is done, and hopefully we'll see a Democrat.
I agree. The anti-Israel, the anti-Jewish rhetoric, it does remind me of the 1930s. I couldn't agree with you more.
There is no question that the anti-fascism is also rising, and the fascists were on our shore back then. And what we're committed to now is fighting what? Socialists? I mean, the idea of having health care that everyone
Communist, socialist, very antithetical to the American system.
Are they the same or are they different? Because I think socialism, TVA, where I'm from, East Tennessee, was built by socialism. The TVA was built by it. Oak Ridge was built by it. Factories were built by it. Alcoa
built by socialism?
America, absolutely. Government workers, 90% of the people that built those dams.
Having a government is not the same as having socialism.
Well, so if it's not the government doing the work and the government building things for the people and then keeping ownership of it, if that's not what socialism is, then what is it? You tell me. If it's not direct employees building the
So
New
you're
York City subway,
you're saying any level of or any amount of
I think
government
your
is
people
socialism.
are. I think your guys are actually. I don't.
We're not
you're
the one
ones
running
that
on
label
it.
all this stuff.
You have a whole faction of your party called Democratic Socialists of America who are running on things well beyond basic government services. They're running on absolute and total radical anarchy that is antithetical to the American.
Let me ask you a point of clarification. Do you think Medicare for all is socialism?
Well, I think if the government overtakes an entire sector or entire industry, that's the proposal, that would be socialism, absolutely. And there are countries around the world that engage in socialist practices where they have taken that over, and the outcomes for those people in many cases are terrible. But it's a legitimate debate. Are we going to have the government running entire sectors of our economy, such as healthcare? Conservatives don't believe in that.
And we took a look in some polling that I did just this past week about Medicare for All, because we know it's going to be more of a topic of conversation, especially as more of these sort of very progressive folks win in these primaries. What a lot of voters say is they say, great, if we can do it by taxing the rich, that's wonderful, but don't you dare raise taxes on me. And I think this is where, for some of the folks in the DSA sort of movement, when the rubber hits the road, that's where this friction on the Democratic Party comes along, where the establishment says, that's nice, but we've got to do stuff that actually works. And they still may get overtaken by people who say, nope, we're just going to say fight, fight, fight.
The current system we have right now, $72 trillion is what it's going to cost us over the next 10 years. Our current health care system, $72
Called
trillion.
Obamacare, by the way.
But you're talking about all the
current-
health insurance,
all
and
the health
agencies,
insurance,
hospitals, everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
The entire thing is going to cost us. That's an unsustainable, and that's not even covering every American. That's the current system.
So let me ask you a question, Congresswoman. Medicare for all, it seems like that is about to become, if not already has become, the Democratic Party platform. Is that fair to say? Does that get rid of insurance companies, or does that just provide like the public option as they used to talk about with the Obamacare?
You know, as was just said, it's been around for a long time. There's different iterations, but I think that it's going to be the foundation of what we do, because we still don't have health care for everyone. And in the richest country in the history of the world, we need it. I was going to say, my husband, we were in Canada. He got sick. He was in the emergency room 3 days. His health care bill was $800 for 3 days. And then you could not do that in the United States of America, being in the emergency room 3 days and only $800. And he received very good treatment.
I think describing the Canadian system where people wait weeks and weeks or months and months and months
wait.
for very basic healthcare procedures. You do not want that here. I promise you. We have the best healthcare system in the world. We have the best doctors in the world. To force people into a system where they got to wait months and months and months to get a knee surgery.
They don't even wait here, Scott, because they don't even try to go.
You have to
That's
wait.
not true.
But you have to
People
wait
get knee
here.
surgeries here all
you
the
have to
time.
wait.
That is absolutely not true. And the audacity to say that Canada has a better healthcare system than us is absolutely ridiculous. Look, just because something is free doesn't make it good. And Scott Jennings is absolutely right. If Medicare for All becomes the Democrat Party's platform, then what exactly happens to private health insurance? Does the government just take over the entire healthcare industry? And they think they're slick by saying free Medicare for all instead of free Medicare for American citizens, the same way they want to abolish ICE. For what? Why do they want to get rid of the border? Who does that benefit? And abolishing the police? Are we serious? Who are we going to call to protect us when they abolish the prisons? And have you ever noticed that with all the promises that these people make about free things, they never explain who actually pays for it? From free healthcare, free housing, free Medicare, the list just goes on and on. But in the real world, nothing is free.
Scarcity is actually the result. The Soviet Union promised equality, then delivered breadlines. It promised security, then built a society of surveillance and fear. It promised liberation, then trapped millions of people behind an iron curtain. That's where that road to communism leads. Yet the radical left is selling the same lie in America today. They've polished their branding, right? They've prettied it up. They've packaged it for social media and marketed it to young Americans and college campuses all over the world. They've packaged it as compassion, and they've made promises that they can't keep. But a friendlier name does not change the ideology, and it certainly does not change the end game. This is no longer confined to the margins. Communism has taken root in our universities, our largest cities, and it has taken root in the Democratic Party. Every attack on private property, every demand for greater government control, and every lesson teaching young Americans to despise capitalism drives those roots deeper. That's why every single Democrat voted to raise your taxes. They want to take your hard-earned money away from you and make sure that that hard-earned money goes to help somebody else. Because somebody has to pay for everything that's free. Because last I checked, the farmers don't farm for free, the teachers don't teach for free, and grocery stores don't give away free food. Somebody actually has to pay for that. Just ask them who's paying.
Yeah, it's real easy to spend other people's money. The hard part is actually creating the wealth. And that's the part these socialists always seem to ignore. And why so many people laugh when Democrats try to sell socialism as a good thing, or what America needs. And why do they always present it as some revolutionary new idea, when in reality, it's not? It's the same old experiment that's been tried over and over again, and that's failed over and over again. And the excuse they give is always the same. That the problem wasn't socialism, but that it just wasn't done the right way. And they want us to believe that somehow this time it'll be different. Yeah, right. I don't know about you, but I'm not willing to gamble on that. I love my freedoms and my capitalism just fine. And for some reason, these idiots think that more government, more spending, and more control will somehow make everything better. Well, it won't. And every one of these grand promises comes with a price tag, and eventually somebody has to pay for it. That's why tax the rich is their go-to line, because it sounds good, it sounds politically convenient. But what happens once that money isn't enough? Who do you think gets the bill next? Well, who else? The middle class. The ones who always end up carrying more of the burden while the government keeps expanding its reach. It's all a take, take, take until you have nothing left. And then, of course, you become a slave to the government. But then again, maybe that's what they want. Maybe they want people to have less individual freedoms. Maybe they want to control every aspect of our lives. Who knows? So yeah, I feel like Scott Jennings was absolutely right to call this bullcrap out. Did you notice how every time he asked a simple question, instead of getting a straight answer, the conversation immediately and always shifts to emotional stories and vague promises? But if you're really asking Americans to hand over more control to the government, then you should at least be able to explain in detail what exactly stays and what disappears. And most importantly, who pays for it? We're not going to accept just trust the government. And I believe it was Ronald Reagan who said, the scariest words you can hear are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Those words couldn't ring more true today, at least in my opinion. But I would love to know your thoughts on this in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a like and please consider subscribing to the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.